Today in the Quadratec Academy, I'm going to show you how to install a Mopar soft top on our Jeep Gladiator. Hey, Rob here for Quadratec.com. Welcome to another episode of the Quadratec Academy. Today we're going to be showing you the installation procedures to get your brand new Mopar soft top installed onto a 2020 or newer Jeep Gladiator. Now these installation instructions will apply for two conditions. If you've just purchased your new Mopar soft top from us, it will arrive in a very large package. However, if you purchased your Gladiator from the factory with a dual top group, well, the hardtop will have come installed on your Gladiator, and you will have found that same very large box packed right here in the bed of your Gladiator underneath of the tonneau cover. We've already gone ahead and cut the straps and removed the box from the bed of our Gladiator. And as you can see, we got everything unpacked and laid out. That is going to be the first step that you want to make sure that you do, is make sure that you've got everything listed on the installation instructions. You can see as we've got it laid out in the bed of our Gladiator here and on the table, there's really not a whole lot of parts to this top. It should be a pretty easy installation that should only take about an hour or two for you to accomplish. It doesn't require any special tools either. In fact, you can do most of the installation using the Jeep toolkit that came with your Gladiator from the factory. We're going to be using the T40 Torx bit as well as the T50 Torx bit out of the kit, along with the ratchet. The only additional tool we're going to need is going to be a Phillips head screwdriver. Now those installation instructions that came with the soft top do mention the use of a torque wrench. However, remember, most of the fasteners that we're installing are going into plastic pieces here, and most of the torque specs are under about 10 foot-pounds. So we don't need to go crazy torquing things down. Pretty much hand tight is going to work just great for all of the fasteners that we need to install. Now before we can begin installing our soft top on the Gladiator, of course the first thing we had to do is go ahead and get the hardtop removed from our truck. Now if you have any questions about how to remove your hardtop, you can click the info button to watch our previous Quadratec Academy video that we made showing you step by step just how easy it is to get that hardtop removed from your Gladiator. And at this point, we're ready to go ahead and begin our installation. To start the installation of our new soft top, the first pieces we need to grab are the parts that make up the rear belt rail assembly. Now those are composed of a long piece that runs across the back of the body of the Gladiator, as well as two of these 90-degree corner pieces. Once we got these here on the table, you're also going to need to grab the 4 Phillips screws. Now these are the only Phillips screws used in the entire assembly process. Of course, you're going to need your Phillips head screwdriver to go with those. There's also a small packet of 3M adhesion promoter you're going to need, as well as this gasket we'll be installing in just a few minutes. And finally, you're going to need this piece of cardboard. That's right. Now when you were unpacking your soft top, you would have noticed this odd shaped piece of cardboard here with some holes punched in it. This is not a piece of packing. This is actually an assembly template that we're going to be using to ensure that we get these 3 pieces assembled correctly with the spacing so that all of our bolt holes line up. So the first thing we need to do is go ahead and turn this largest piece of the belt rail assembly upside down, and then we can grab the 2 corner pieces. Now these are labeled. Each of the pieces feature a left hand and right hand marking on the underside. We don't need to be that concerned with those markings at this point because these pieces fit together like puzzle pieces. They really only go together in one way. You can see once you line them up here, the back edge and front edge will fit together. We can snap each piece down into that larger portion, and then we can go ahead and grab those 4 Phillips head screws. And we just want to get them started at this point into the 2 mounting locations between each corner and straight piece of the bracket here. We do not want to tighten these down at this point. Now with those 4 screws loosely installed, we should still have some movement and be able to make some adjustments between the corner part of the belt rail and the straight portion, because those holes are slotted, allowing us to slide it in and out slightly. Now this is where that cardboard template is going to come into play. By placing the outermost hole of the template onto these locating posts on both sides of the bracket here, we want to ensure that once that's installed, all of the mounting holes across the back side of the bracket line up correctly. So once you get that slipped on there, kind of slide each side in and out slightly. I like to get the gap on both sides even here. Ensure that all your mounting holes line up. Now we can go ahead and tighten those 4 screws down. Remember, we don't want to over tighten these. We don't want to strip out the mounting locations. Just simply get them hand tight. Now we can go ahead and remove the cardboard template. And now we're ready to go ahead and install the weather seal inside this outside edge all the way around our belt rail assembly. Before we do that, you want to grab the packet of the 3M adhesion promoter, and you want to give a good wipe around both the back edge and this kind of beveled inner edge all the way around, and this is going to ensure that we get a really good seal between the gasket and the belt rail assembly. Now you want to wait a minute or two for that application to evaporate off, and at this point we can go ahead and grab our new weather seal. We've got a little starting tab that's going to help you peel back the backing strip here. You can see the adhesive is broke up into 2 separate strips, and you want to go ahead and align this on both the back edge as well as the inner bevel edge. Start at one side of the belt rail assembly and work your way all the way around to the other side. If you have any left over, you can go ahead and simply snip that off. I like to pull back just a few inches of the backing paper to get this started. And then slowly work your way around a few inches at a time. With the seal installed on our belt rail assembly, the next step is to go ahead and mount this to the body of our Gladiator. We're going to need that Jeep toolkit. We can grab the ratchet, as well as our T50 Torx bit. And we're going to be bolting this down using 6 of the T50 short Torx bolts. Now installing this should be a pretty familiar procedure. It bolts in place in all of the same locations as the hardtop does at the back of the Gladiator. We can set the belt rail assembly in place using the 2 locating pins on each corner to position it correctly, and then go ahead and tighten down those bolts. Now before installing the first bolt right here just behind the rear doors, you want to ensure that this door seal is pulled out from underneath of that belt rail assembly. Next up, we can go ahead and get our front door surrounds installed here on both the driver and passenger side. This is going to be the short, straight portion of the door surround, and these are labeled FL and FR for front left and front right, front left being the driver's side here. These install in place over the sport bar by simply setting them down over the bar. The 2 hinged pieces should align with the recesses in the sport bar trim here. When you're setting this in place, you just want to ensure that it sits down over top of this door seal here between the front door and rear door, and also that it sits in this channel here at the header seal so that you don't have any accidental water intrusion into your Jeep. Now we can go ahead and swap out our T50 Torx bit for the T40 Torx bit in our toolkit. And we're going to install 2 of the T40 long Torx bolts up from underneath to secure the door surround in place. And then we can go ahead and repeat the same steps over on the passenger side. Next up, we can go ahead and assemble the rear pieces of the door surround. We need to grab 2 pieces for each side, the longer upper piece of the door surround, as well as the shorter lower piece of the door surround. And these are going to assemble in one direction only. So they are going to be marked left-hand and right-hand side for each side respectively, but they fit together like puzzle pieces. So if the 2 that you grabbed don't line up perfectly, you might need to swap one out for the other until you get a good match there. We're also going to need the seal that installs in between the upper and lower piece of the door surround, as well as 2 of the T40 short Torx bolts to assemble these together, and 2 of the washers. We can start by grabbing that seal. Now if you look, there is going to be a locating pin on one side of the seal, and that's going to go into the locating hole on the lower portion of the door surround. We can drop that in place, lining it so that this tab fits through the seal, and make sure that the outer portion of the seal sits nicely on the outside of the door surround there. And then we can go ahead and slide the lower piece into the upper piece. Again, making sure that that seal sits nicely on the outside. Grab the hardware, both a bolt and a washer. Install each one loosely to start, and then we'll come back and tighten those down. Now we're ready to go ahead and install the rear door surround here on our Jeep. Just like with the front door surround, we're going to install it on top of the sport bar here. There's a couple pins that are going to help locate it in the correct position. We have some up here that are going to sit down into 2 notches on top of the sport bar. When we get it up into position here, we see there's also a pin down here on that belt rail assembly that we installed that's going to slip into a hole on the bottom side of the door surround. And finally, up here at the front of the door surround, we want to make sure that that sits down into this door seal between the front and rear doors. We don't want to crush that when we're installing it. Now, getting this into the proper position will take a little bit of practice, but after you do it a few times, you can kind of get it lined up. Once everything's positioned correctly, it'll kind of just drop right into place. Last thing, you want to make sure that you didn't crush this door seal at the rear opening of the door. It should sit behind the lowest hanging portion of this door surround. Once it's all in place there, go ahead and grab 2 of those long T40 Torx bolts, and we'll install them up from under, bolt them in place, and we can get the passenger side installed. With all of our door surrounds installed, it's time to go ahead and place the soft top up on top of our truck. Now you want to make sure that you have the latches facing up, and that's so that these locating pins on the bow supports are going to be on the bottom. Those are going to rest into the channels on top of the door surrounds we just installed. Now this is a great time to grab a friend to help you lift the soft top so we can place it up on top of our Gladiator. Once you have the soft top up here on top of the Gladiator, I find it easier if you jump up in the bed so you can get a bird's eye view of the channels that the tabs have to sit down into on the bows. And you can see we've got one here at the back, and we have one at the front that it needs to lock into. If you didn't get them locked in when you had a friend, right now is a great time to go ahead and lift it up, slide it forward, get both of those front tabs in, and that rear tab will locate itself right into a little channel here on top of the door surround. Now we need to go ahead and secure the soft top assembly in place, and to do that, well, we're going to be using 4 of the T50 short Torx bolts. These are the same bolts that we used to secure that belt rail in place a little bit earlier, and those are going to install right behind each of the locating tabs, one at the rear, one at the front, on both sides. All that's left to do at this point is to go ahead and fold our soft top forward so that we can latch it at the windshield, and then we can get both rear corners in place, and finally that rear window. I'll simply fold the soft top forward, pulling down, watching your fingers here so that you don't get pinched in any of the soft top bow mechanisms. And then finally we can pull down on the latches, hooking them under the latches on the windshield frame, and then pushing back up to secure them in place. So we'll start by getting our rear corner installed here on the driver's side. The top of the corner is going to slip up under the soft top. We also have a tab on the back side here that's going to align with our belt rail assembly. So we can go ahead and start by slipping the top edge up underneath of our soft top into place. Then we can align that tab with the slot in the belt rail. You'll feel it drop right into place. Last, we can insert this plastic tab here on the leading edge on the outside of the corner into the slot on our door surround here. Start at the top, get it started using your palm, push forward, work your way down. And then finally, make sure that this little tab at the top is tucked up under the soft top, and there's a piece of hook and loop. It's going to keep that secure. After installing the driver's side corner, we've moved on to the passenger side rear corner, repeated all the same procedures, tucking it in at the top, at the bottom, and then slipping the channel into the door surround. And now that we have our passenger rear corner installed, we're ready to go ahead and install our rear window. But before we do that, you should have found a pair of elastic straps packed with your new soft top. Well, these are designed to snap into the bow assembly here just inside of your soft top, and they allow you to roll your rear window up when you're just looking to get a little ventilation through your top without having to completely remove that rear window. Now, to install that rear window, there are no zippers found on the rear window of the Gladiator soft top. It's actually held in place in the top here by a channel that's sewn into the soft top. And we simply go ahead and start by sliding our rear window into that channel. And we can slide the window all the way across the back of the soft top. And once we slip that rear window into place, next is to go ahead and install the sides of the window. There's a plastic tab sewn on the back side of the window that slips into the channel on each corner. Start at the top, work your way down. Make sure to tuck in the fabric flap at the top. Go to the other side, repeat the same steps, tucking that flap in at the top, working your way down, tucking the flap in at the top. With both sides installed, next you're going to find a plastic tab at the lower corner on both sides of the window. These are going to tuck into another channel here at the base of each corner section. Now I will say these may be very difficult to get installed, especially the first time. I always recommend when you're installing a new soft top, you should do that preferably outside on a warm sunny day. That's going to help all of the material to warm up, relax, stretch a little bit, making this process easier. Don't get frustrated if it's a little tough at first. One other thing that you can do to relax the fabric is to go inside the Jeep, unclip the soft top from above the windshield and fold it back. That's going to relax it a little bit as well, help you get these tucked into those slots in the belt rail. Now with both rear corner tabs tucked in place, we've got one final channel that we need to install. There's one more tab that runs the length of the bottom of the window. Just like all the others, we're going to start by tucking this into the belt rail channel on one side and then work our way across the window. With our rear window in place, that completes the installation of our Mopar soft top here on our Gladiator. When it's time to head out for a drive and you want to enjoy some sunshine, well, it's as simple as flipping the two latches on the front windshield, lifting up above the driver's seat here, pushing back, and we can fully open up our new soft top. Now there is one other piece that came with your new top, that is a pair of these Velcro straps. Now these are intended to be wrapped around the soft top bow assembly back here above the rear seat, and they're going to prevent the soft top from buffeting and catching any wind as you're driving down the highway. And if you guys have any comments or questions about installing your new Mopar soft top on your 2020 or newer Jeep Gladiator, you can always leave those for us in the comments section below. You'll definitely want to hit that subscribe button so you're sure to catch all of our latest tips, tricks, and more right here from the Quadratec Academy. Till next time, I'm Rob. I'll see you guys out on the trail.